What's holding you back from what God has called you to do? God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Take Abraham, for instance. Abraham, the father of us all, the father of Israel. He wasn't even from there. He was from Ur of the Chaldees. He was from a pagan background. His family, they were pagan. Moses was a murderer who stuttered. Elijah was doubtful, fearful, and suicidal. David was an adulterer. Peter denied Jesus. Rahab was a prostitute. Thomas was a skeptic. Timothy blasphemed Jesus. Paul was killing Jews who were new converts to Christianity. See, God uses imperfect people, flawed people, sinners. This is why acceptance is so important. You never know which vessel God is going to choose to use next to carry out his will. Romans 15:7. Accept one another, then, just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. Why does God use flawed and imperfect people? Why does he use sinners? Number one, he has no other option. According to Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Number two, in knowing that they fall short, imperfect people have no other choice than to rely and depend on God for his help to complete the task that he has given them. For example, God chose Gideon to lead his army. But because Gideon was a coward, he had no choice but to depend fully on God. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 through 10. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Number three, God gets all the glory. So when God chooses ordinary, imperfect, flawed, sinners, regular people, to accomplish an extraordinary task, everyone is amazed and they know that it wouldn't have been possible without God. So God gets all the glory. Jesus chose imperfect, everyday, average Joes to be his disciples, and together they changed the world, and God got all the glory. Acts 4:13. When they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. When the Lord sent Samuel to anoint a king for Israel, David had 7 older brothers. And Samuel saw Eliab, and he thought, surely this is the one. You know, he was tall, he was handsome. Samuel thought, this has got to be the one. 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or height. I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So Samuel went through 6 more brothers, but the Lord had not chosen any of those either. So they sent for David, the youngest, who was tending the sheep. Out of all 7 of the brothers, the Lord chose the youngest, David, who was a shepherd, to be anointed as the king of Israel. So what is stopping you? What is holding you back? So what if you have a past? So what if you're flawed and imperfect? So what if so-and-so doesn't like you? So what if someone else is more qualified? Romans 2:11, there is no respect of persons with God. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He doesn't care if there was someone more qualified than you to do what he has called you to do, because he chose you to do it. This is why I've chosen the name Recycled Ministries as this page name. Recycle, to convert waste into reusable material. To return material to a previous stage in a cyclic process. To use again. Let's look at repurpose. Adapt for use in a different purpose. So they wouldn't hear you the first time, okay? So they threw tomatoes, tomato, tomato, tomato. So they called you trash. But guess what? You get up and you get back in there and you tell them that God recycles and God repurposes. You're no longer trash. You've been recycled and you've been repurposed. You're no longer the head. You're no longer the tail. You're the head and not the tail. Okay? You're no longer unqualified. You're anointed and appointed. If they still won't hear you, then shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. But don't let anything hold you back. God uses imperfect people. Okay? He doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.